In the office, we were talking about the OJ thing.
Yes. Good old OJ.
We all got emails last night that we thought we had an exclusive. We're so lame, Louie, when it comes to exclusives with this program. We get these emails like, hey, man, we got a copy of that OJ book that wasn't released. And these emails are written in such a way that we're thinking, oh, my God, we finally could scoop the world.
Because it said not confirmed
right.
If it's the actual book, but it looks like it. It looks like something, oh, wow, we're getting exclusive. It was emailed to me in a PDF document.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, okay, let me open this up and check it out.
And we're thinking that there's a hardcore fan deep within the publishing community that said, what the hell, I'll give you guys this little radio nugget. And so we got a little excited. We're thinking, okay, we'll be the guys that break the whole OJ thing, read some excerpts today. And we open up the paper. It's like on page 3. It's
all over the place.
It's the headline of every news channel.
Everyone's got it. We're not breaking news here.
We just want to have a scoop one time in our lousy careers.
It's like trying to get the scoop on 9/11.
Right.
Yeah, we just...
Guess what happened? Oh, now it's everywhere.
Yeah, everyone knows about it. We don't get the scoop on anything.
But Anthony ended up reading a lot of it last night, right?
So because I thought that was all there was going to be, was my little copy on the computer screen.
Right.
So I'm sitting there, my eyes are bleeding trying to read something off the computer. If you're just checking out videos or reading some email on a computer, that's one thing.
No.
The whole thing with reading long-form stuff on a computer screen is painful.
They don't have that figured out
yet. My head was pounding by the time I was done.
Because they were
font bigger.
What?
Make the font bigger.
Shut up.
Why not? You can.
Shut up.
You zoom in, you make it bigger.
That much.
Yeah, it doesn't help. I don't know what it is, but
it's just looking at a monitor. It's
but now you know how
radiation.
now you know how to murder your wife and the guy who's returning his sunglasses to her.
Yes, exactly. Because, well, as OJ said, this isn't what happened.
No.
But if I would have done it,
hilarious.
I would have done it this way exactly, with every minute detail.
You know what bothers me about America is, why can't this book be released? I don't get why
outrage.
we have... All right, outrage. I don't get all of a sudden we have to have morals in the publishing community and all that. I mean,
as if we didn't have a ball with OJ when it happened. I mean, it was a national obsession.
Number one.
We're like, hey, let's let the rest in peace.
It spawned a new network there. Court TV was nothing before the OJ trial. But the newspapers every day, it was huge in the news. The verdict, it was the most watched thing since like the last episode of MASH. Exactly. It's just huge.
I understand making sure he doesn't get paid for it and all that, but why not get the book out there?
Sure.
I mean, we all followed the trial for the 2 years that it was on.
It should be out there.
Yeah.
When I was working at the Chris Rock show, I was writing there, and it was, I guess, about a year after that whole mess. And Chris had this idea to do the first interview with OJ, and the idea was going to be this exclusive, okay, now we can ask you, finally, who do you think should have won the MVP for the AFL? It's not going to be all football questions.
Just football questions.
Framed as if this was the big... And OJ was dying to do it, of course.
I'm sure.
Why did it happen?
Because we didn't want to be the ones to let him back into having fun.
Society.
Like, we didn't want to be the ones to let him in on a joke.
The scarlet murder letter on him. You don't want to be the one that kind of gives him any credibility.
Yeah. Well, Anthony read a lot, and what you were saying in the office was pretty interesting.
Well, I skipped through all the crap at the beginning, which is just his relationship. First, it's like it just starts with like a little history on OJ. Who cares? And then there's, the history of him and Nicole. Everyone knows they had their
But it's all
forth.
So is he saying, had I won the Heisman?
Well, no. It's not so. It's not all hypothetical.
No.
Like it's all fact. And then just the part where he stabs them multiple times is hypothetical. Because then everything after that is what happened.
He couldn't make it.
What happened?
Picks up with now here.
Yeah, he couldn't make it more clear that he's about to tell you the truth, because he starts by giving you his whole
it's his history,
his whole life,
and then
I played for USC, and then
he did. He told about his relationship with
hilarious.
He talked about his relationship with him and his father, like that whole thing, his upbringing, and then It gets to the evening in question, I think, was the chapter.
But that really is funny, you know. It's like, look, I know people are going to think that I'm just making this up to have a little fun or whatever, and keep my name out there. No, I'm going to give my whole
all the
life
facts.
history, where I was born, where I was raised, where I went to high school.
Biography. One chapter that has to have just changed language.
One thing that's, just if I did do it, this is how I would have done it.
Right, after all the facts that he just gave.
And it doesn't even
work. Saying that my father and I were a little distant.
Right,
had we been, here's how it would have manifested itself.
If I would have played for Buffalo, it would have been like this.
Or uses a fake team name like they used to do in the 70s, like the Dallas Colts.
Right.
The Buffalo Williams he played for.
The Denver Balloons or something.
It's really too bad that this book isn't going to see the light of day. Well, now it's going to see the light of day.
Everyone will see it.
Is this the whole book that is now out there, Ant?
Yeah.
This is the whole book?
Yep.
All right, so now you can read it for free.
That's actually better, though.
This is actually a very small book.
So he's not making a...
The book's 2 pages?
This is just 1 page of the...
He's not making a profit from it this way.
But what's the... I don't know why they wouldn't publish it. Mein Kampf is published. They make Hitler's memoirs.
Problem?
That's... Yeah, see, this is about a black guy killing a white woman.
Right.
Way to put it in perspective, Lou.
Maybe if OJ had a funny little mustache, people would give him a little more leeway.
God, but this is all... Nicole came at me swinging.
Yeah.
This is not put in any... It doesn't say, had she come at me swinging.
No. It's not put in the way...
He just puts a disclaimer at the beginning of the thing and says...
I made it up.
Look, I'm going to do this... oh, my God.
He goes, Nicole came at me swinging. Get the out of here, she said. This is my house, and I can do what I want. Not in front of my kids. You can't. You. No. You. I gave you everything you could ask for, and you it all up. She came at me like a banshee, all arms and legs flailing. I ducked, and she lost her balance and fell against the stoop. She fell hard on her right side. I could hear the back of her head hitting the ground and lay there for a moment. She lay there not moving.
Can I ask a quick question here?
Yes.
In the autopsies, did they mention that she had a head injury?
Yeah, it was almost off.
Well, no,
that
we know that. We know that, but I mean, was there bruising in the back of her head from the fall?
That would be an interesting thing to look at. Was that severed head damaged?
Yeah. Right.
Was it dropped before or after it was removed from her body?
Good point.
It's like when you said you're turning an iPod for a warranty. Was there water damage?
They were probably arguing, and he probably punched her in the face. Like, he didn't flail and trip. He probably punched her in the face.
Also, here's the worst part is he's getting his side of the argument in here. Like, he's saying, look, folks, the real message of this is, hey, I gave her everything she wanted.
If anyone doesn't see this bitch deserved it, that's pretty much what he's saying. He's getting his side out.
He's trying to sway us.
Well, without actually reading verbatim, because he talks a lot, because at this point...
Charlie?
Exactly.
Okay.
He had the North Vietnamese with him.
OJ, you get out here! The police are coming, OJ!
I said we read this.
Let's go murder again.
Because people haven't, they're not going to search this out.
Yeah, let me give you the basic, outline, though, because with some of these things taken out of context, you might not understand what they are. OJ goes over at Nicole's house to see his kids earlier in the day. They go to a recital. They all come back. You remember this. This was all fact. They come back. Now, this guy, Charlie, there's some guy that shows up in this book. His name is Charlie. He's apparently some acquaintance of OJ's that OJ met at some dinner party.
Al Cowlings?
I got my theories on who Charlie is.
So he's making up a guy.
Yeah. Charlie. This is the other guy that saw this whole thing.
So he's basically admitting there was another guy there.
He's saying there's another guy there, but I'm not sure of that either. There's a couple of options here.
Or it might be 2 people in his head?
I'm thinking Charlie could be good OJ. Charlie is the side. OJ, at some point in this action, had a mental break.
Right.
Now, he goes to the house.
Oh, my God. That's
because Charlie, and I'm doing the parentheses, the quotation marks, parentheses,
quotation mark thing.
Yeah. Charlie went up to OJ and told him, OJ, I got some bad news. OJ said what? He said, Nicole has been out doing drugs with, her friends, getting into some kinky scenes and everything like that. And OJ goes, why the F are you telling me this? He goes, look, I know about it. I figured I'd tell you. So he goes, he thanked Charlie and goes, I want to go over there right now and see what that bitch is doing. So him and Charlie go over to, Nicole's house, and, OJ at some point wants to see what she's doing, so he puts his little wool cap on and gloves, and walks out with a big knife that he had underneath his seat. And at this point, Charlie says to him, OJ, give me that knife. You're not going in there with that knife. This is what leads me to believe this is where OJ starts breaking into two people.
This was him in his car by himself.
Right.
Looking at the knife.
Thinking like...
And the little Chinese man inside of him said, oh, don't bring a knife, OJ.
That will never make the air, by the way.
No.
We are not
really?
allowed
to
make any voices.
I'm sorry.
Words hurt, Louis. Words hurt.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I know. Believe me.
Shame on you, Louis.
Believe me.
Okay.
Believe me.
There was nobody okay.
When the mics are off, let's go to town on that.
Sorry, guys.
Not your fault.
So, no, believe me, it's not. So, OJ, goes and he gives the knife to Charlie. Now this, to me, is, the sane OJ now has possession of the knife. And he's not gonna do anything with it because it's Charlie. Well, OJ starts talking to Nicole, or talking to, Goldman, who pulls up with the sunglasses and saying, who the F are you? What are you doing here? And giving him a lot of crap. And then Nicole comes out because she hears the noise. And when he sees Nicole all dressed up, there's candles burning in her place. Or he assumes something's going on, and that's why Ron Goldman's coming over. He starts thinking back to the whole day, he says. Like going to the recital, this, that, the other thing. He flashes back throughout the day. And then when he comes up to the point he was at during that day, which is standing there, he's got the knife in his hand. And he's covered in blood, and Ron Goldman is dead, and Nicole is laying on the ground dead, and Charlie's going, OJ, we gotta get the F out of here.
Yeah.
Charlie, his acquaintance he met at a dinner party, who's now a murder accomplice.
Yeah, you know what I'm wondering is if Nicole or Ron did they say anything to Charlie in the story? Did they react to him?
No, Charlie Durden. Invisible. Charlie Durden was not spoken to.
so he's invisible.
He's invisible.
You're
he's
right.
My invisible friend Charlie.
Yeah.
So the only thing I have about it that it's not this. Like, OJ suffered this break at that point.
I think that's exactly what happened.
That's why he was so able to distance himself from the actual murder and actually convince himself that he didn't do it. Because there was this Charlie character who is the rational OJ, and then OJ, who was the irrational, murdering OJ. And for that moment, he turned into the other guy, where Charlie was trying to stop him from doing this.
Yeah.
So OJ strips down to his underwear and socks, and takes his clothing, rolls it up, rolls the knife up in it. They drive the Bronco, him and Charlie, back to Rockingham. Then he takes the bundled up bloody clothing and the weapon, gives it to Charlie, and says, take this and get rid of it. I want this gone forever. And no one knows who this Charlie is or where this stuff ever ended up. I didn't want to make up stuff like that. This is all made up. But I didn't want to make up where the weapon ended up. I didn't want to, make it up. Because the police might start digging there and find a weapon. So he gives it to Charlie. And Charlie, then he gives instructions to Charlie. He goes, look, the limo pulled up. When they pulled up to Rockingham, they saw the limo pulling in. And OJ goes, oh, crap, the limo's here. We got to pull around the side. He goes, I'm going to sneak in. You take this stuff, get rid of it. Later on, when the limo pulls out, you pull the Bronco into the driveway, hit the gate, and run out before the gate shuts. And then I'll just say it was parked there the whole night.
Oh, my God.
So that's what he did.
And you think the blood spot might have been from Charlie, quote unquote, hitting the,
From it could have been Charlie, it could have been this. Well, apparently, though, Charlie left it out on the street, because it was parked slightly askew, if you remember. The Bronco wasn't parked right, and then the cops, when they questioned OJ about it, they said, well, it looked like you were in a rush. And they asked him, all the questioning, were you in a rush packing up? He goes, well, I kind of, want to pack all my stuff. But he didn't say he was in a rush until he talked about the car being sideways, and then OJ was in a big rush. So the limo was parked there. He told Charlie to get rid of everything. He went around the side by Cato's room, hit the air conditioner. He said, when I was running into the house, I banged into the air conditioner, almost fell down. He went inside. The limo guy was calling, but he assumed, when he turned on his bedroom light, that the limo guy would see that and assume he was in the shower, so he didn't answer the phone, making it seem like he had been there longer than he was. He knew the limo guy would call again. He called when he got out of the shower. OJ said he'd be down in a few minutes. Went down, took the limo to, Chicago, and they called him from Chicago and told him his wife was murdered, dead. And that's when he threw the glass and cut his finger. But now he couldn't remember if he had cut his finger beforehand and gotten blood, because now the cops are questioning him, saying, OJ, we got a problem here. And OJ goes, and they said, we found blood in your Bronco. He goes, well, I may have cut myself on a hanger as I was packing, or, I golf a lot. He goes, I might have cut myself and opened it up while I was running around. But I think I did it that night. Like his story, if you read, another good part is not only the murder part with Charlie, but the questioning, because it's the actual questioning that was done by the two cops, and OJ. It's the actual questioning. Now, if it would have happened like this, it would have. Oh, it did. Yes, this is the real question.
This part is what happened.
And you find the inconsistencies.
He doesn't know. That's the crazy part, is when he's being asked about it. It's like such a mind-boggling layers of reality. Because then he's going in the past to him being questioned about something that he's saying he made up.
He didn't do, but as he's being questioned.
Now it's so did he know that he was referring to the later story he was going to had made up and
it made up? Yeah, he had this all made up beforehand
or something.
Because as like Van Adder's questioning him, he's saying to himself, and in this book, he said during that questioning, I'm saying to myself, I just have to make them believe this.
Yeah.
That I'm 100%. He goes, I told them, when I went into court, I said, I'm 100% innocent, Your Honor. He goes, I just had to make them believe that.
Scene between this scene that he's created, that doesn't exist supposedly in his mind, that he's dropped in between two realities.
Yeah.
So those two realities are past, but that thing is present because he just made it up.
Because he made it up,
so
it makes no sense that he had made this up.
It's a mess.
See, Charlie is the other guy.
Charlie.
Yeah,
or
find Charlie.
Could be Al, like we saw.
Al Cowlings.
Al Cowlings.
I think it could be Al Cowlings. Maybe it was Charlie. He went there with the purpose of killing these, at least his wife.
It's weird, by the way. They never even convicted him of just a high-speed chase.
Nothing.
Not even like a
with
ticket
a gun and
yeah.
Well, let's read this before the break. So then this is the actual murder, in OJ's words, if it happened?
If it happened, but it didn't. She came at me like a banshee, arms and legs flailing. I could hear the back of her head, hit the ground when he pushed her over. She lay there a moment, not moving. Jesus Christ, OJ, let's get the out of here, Charlie said, his voice cracking. I looked over at Goldman, and I was fuming. I guess he thought I was going to hit him because he got into his little karate stance.
Oh, he's making fun of a guy.
I know.
Killed.
Yeah, exactly. What the is that? I said. You think you could take me with your karate? He started circling me, bobbing and weaving, and if I hadn't been so angry, I would have laughed in his face.
Oh my God.
This is OJ talking about Ron Goldman, the dead guy.
I'll tell you, but that's exactly what happened. Because, Ron Goldman probably didn't bring. I always thought Ron Goldman was banging her.
Probably.
I think a lot of people thought that, and he walked over, and they were just, come on.
OJ, come on. It was Charlie again pleading. Nicole moaned, regaining consciousness. She stirred on the ground and opened her eyes and looked at me, but it didn't seem like anything was registering. Charlie walked over and planted himself in front of me, blocking my view. We are done here, man. Let's go. See, Charlie's constantly trying to get him out of here.
Blocking my view.
I noticed the knife in Charlie's hand.
What?
And in one deft move, I remember my right glove. I removed my right glove and snatched it up. We're not going anywhere, I said, turning to face Goldman. Goldman was still circling me, bobbing and weaving, but I didn't feel like laughing anymore. You think you're tough? MF, I said. I could hear Charlie just behind me saying something, urging me to get the out of there. And at one point he even reached for me and tried to drag me away, but I shook him off hard and moved toward Goldman. Okay, MF, I said. Show me how tough you are. Then something went horribly wrong, and I know what happened, but I can't tell you exactly how.
Even though none of this actually happened.
Right.
If I did it, I still wouldn't remember how I
wouldn't know.
My memory would probably be foggy, even though it's all
it would be all foggy.
You know what this is? He's not brave enough because he doesn't know the law.
Yeah.
So he's like,
somebody could break precedent.
Right, he's thinking,
if
well,
a dude writes a book, you get to convict
like there's a little known law or something, so he's like,
or one that
double jeopardy if you write it.
Yeah. He's got to stop right there because he's not sure of the law.
Yeah, I don't know how. I was still standing in Nicole's courtyard, of course, but for a few moments I couldn't remember how I'd gotten there, when I'd arrived, or even why I was there. Then it came back to me very slowly, the recital with little Sydney up on stage dancing her little heart out, Nicole with her little heart out on the sidewalk, chipping balls in my neighbor's yard, Paula angry, not answering her phone, Charlie stopping by my house to tell me some more ugly crap about Nicole's behavior. Then what? The short, quick drive from Rockingham to the Bundy condo, and now I was standing in Nicole's courtyard in the dark, listening to the loud, rhythmic, accelerating beat of my own heart. I put my left hand onto my heart and felt my shirt was strangely wet. I looked down at myself for several moments. I couldn't get my mind around what I was seeing. The whole front of me was covered in blood, but it didn't compute. Is this really blood, I wondered? And whose blood is it? Is it mine? Am I hurt?
Wow.
I was more confused than ever. What the hell was happening here? Then I remembered that Goldman guy coming through the back gate with Judith's glasses, and I remember hollering at him and remember how the shouts had brought Nicole to the door. Nicole, Jesus. I looked down and saw her on the ground in front of me, curled up in the fetal position at the base of the stairs, not moving. Goldman was a few feet away, slumped against the bars of the fence. He wasn't moving either. Both he and Nicole were lying in giant pools of blood. I had never seen so much blood in my life. You know, if it happened. If I had seen blood, I had never seen so much.
You think he blacked out?
In my real life, I never saw as much blood as I saw in this thing that never happened.
That never happened. You think he went into like this blood rage? He just like grabbed a knife and just started hacking?
There's two things. He either blacked out and really doesn't remember how he, quote, killed them.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't want to, officially tell us that part.
Right.
He's scared of the law.
Because he would have, I think he blacked out because wouldn't he have made up something that exonerates him in a weird way? Or he would have made up facts that
they kept running into my knife.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
You exonerate yourself.
Charlie did it.
But he would have made up facts that...
It's interesting how Charlie, disappears from time to time. In the story.
Charlie just, goes away.
Comes and goes.
Like, the whole time he was
nobody else can
butchering these people, Charlie wasn't doing anything?
We gotta take a break, but I want to get through this before the break.
Okay, part 2 of what would happen.
No, just finish up. Finish this up.
What the happened here? Who had done this and why? And where the was I when this went down? I was like, part of my life was missing. There was like some weird gap in my existence. But how could that be? I was standing right there. That was me, right? I looked down again at myself and the blood-soaked clothes. I noticed I had a knife in my hand. The knife was covered with blood, as were my hands, wrist, and half of my right forearm. That didn't compute either. I wondered how all that blood had gotten all over the knife, and again asked myself whose blood it might be, when suddenly it all made perfect sense. This was just a bad dream, a very bad dream. At any moment now, I would wake up at my home in my own bed and start going about my day. Then I heard a sound from behind me, and turned, startled. Charlie was standing in the shadows, a few feet away, his mouth hanging open, his breathing short and ragged. He was looking beyond me at the bodies. Charlie? I called out. He didn't answer. Charlie? Still nothing. I went over and stood in front of him and asked him the same question I'd asked myself. Charlie, what the happened here? He looked up and met my eyes, but for several moments it was as if he didn't really see me. Are you listening to me? I said. I asked what happened. Charlie shook his head from side to side, his mouth still hanging open, his breath still short and ragged, and in a voice that was no more than a frightened whisper, he said, Jesus Christ, OJ, what have you done? Me? What the hell was he talking about? I hadn't done anything. I jumped at the sound behind me, a high-pitched, almost human wail. It was Cato the dog circling Nicole's body, his big paws leaving prints in the wet blood. He lifted his snout and let out another wail that sent chills up and down my spine. Let's get the out of here, I said. I hurried toward the rear gate and moved through it with Charlie close behind, but I stopped myself before I crossed into the alley. Charlie bumped into me and jumped back startled. "What?" he said. I didn't answer. I was thinking about the shape I was in. I was thinking of the blood all over my shirt, my pants were sticking to my skin. Even my shoes were covered in blood.
Here's the thing. OJ...
Yeah, I know. It's a misprint. It wasn't, edited.
Yeah, he couldn't get an editor to go, OJ, when you murdered your wife, you should have written blood.
Blood, not hood.
Here's the thing. OJ is either a murderer or an amazingly good writer.
Great writer.
If you ever read confessions of murders that are they're beautifully written.
Yeah.
There's no fiction that is better written than them. Yep. Just like this. Either he is an incredibly... He's like Charles Dickens or a murderer. Right. He's either Mickey Spillane or a disgusting murderer.
Yeah, I point to disgusting murderer.
I'm pretty sure it's that.
Where's the next novel, OJ? Write a next novel about something that didn't happen. Yeah. Once upon a time, it's all just drivel.
Is there more of this?
All day. Why don't we take a break? We got Louis C.K. in the house today, and it's Whip 'em Out Wednesday. Yes. Lots going on. It's Opie and Anthony discussing this OJ thing through the commercials.
Yeah, well, me and Louis C.K. have been hashing it over, and we're going out on a limb and saying OJ did it. After reading all this, yeah.
He did it. It's riveting.
It really is. We are just laughing at the fact that this... OJ is not this good.
He's not an amazing writer.
He's not. This is material from a great author.
Yes, two people tell stories beautifully. Some authors with incredible imaginations, and people that really did stuff. Simply tell you what happened.
Right. OJ has never, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know. He's never written a book, has he? He's never written fiction.
No. You know what? Louis C.K. makes a really good point because. It's a little known fact that we're starting to, write about our careers and stuff, and it comes so easy.
Yes, yeah.
We got 40 or 50 pages done of just stories. We're not really sure where we're going yet.
I could rattle out things that have happened in my life, like a typewriter. I got no
Even
problem.
When you tell stories about your dad and your home life. It's incredibly interesting because you're just telling what really happened because you were there and it happened.
I was there, it happened.
But if you had to write a story about a family or about two guys on a radio,
I couldn't do it.
It would just be like, and then they got another show. Yeah. That was nice.
But that's the point I'm trying to make because I have attempted to do other writings. It's like, oh, this is garbage.
And you read it, it's like, he's awful. He jumped into the car and turned the ignition key. Yeah, right. This sounds stupid.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but if you murdered somebody, that kind of memory is so etched. So that the memory of getting in the car and what you felt as you started.
Yeah, it's compelling.
It's really compelling.
It's written in a way that is very compelling because it's coming directly from the mind of the guy that killed these two people. Without a doubt.
Yeah, we wrote about the Voyeur bus. It came really easy to us. Really easy.
Yeah.
Because it happened. You didn't have to make up stuff. And try to over-explain and
he's writing things he's writing things you wouldn't think are interesting.
Yes.
And you wouldn't think me mumbling, oh my God, why did you do that? You wouldn't think to write that as an interesting fact.
Well, that's exactly it, is that if you were writing about a murder that you didn't commit, then you would just say, I cut their throats and threw the knife away and ran off. Right. The moment, if you really cut somebody's throats, the moment you'd never forget, and that would feel like 10 pages long in your head, is just standing there, looking at yourself with blood all over your body.
When it's over.
And knowing that, not understanding why or how you did it, and feeling like this moment is the moment I'm going to live for. He's still living that moment. Obviously, he's written it. So
I think that moment. That's probably why you don't get this description of the murder itself. We were saying during the commercial break, if you want the description of the murder, because you're getting this blacked out OJ, you 1 minute he's yelling, the next minute he's standing there covered in blood. If you want what happened in between, go to the trial transcripts, and forensics will tell you exactly how both of those people were killed, how the knife moved, and how they were standing. They know all of that.
That's what everybody already knows.
So they know that.
But what you don't know is what it felt like.
It felt like. And if I could equate it to something, it might seem a little weird, and like we would do, but sex itself.
Yeah, sure.
When you and I and Jimmy have sex?
Yes, all the time. It's great. Take some kind of like kinky sex act you do, or something. You're a little drunk and you decide to shave stuff off, or you do something that's really like a lot of fun, sexually exciting, and then once you're done. Once the moment of truth is done and you look around at the bed and there's toys on it and like clippings, hair clippings, and like just all kinds of crap, and then you go like, oh God, what a weirdo. You know? And the cleanup part is all degrading. Yes. Like that's the part that sticks out in your head. Like, you gotta wipe things off and put them away. And that's the part that's like, ugh.
Pint of Haagen-Dazs in the corner. Oh God, what did I do?
Why speculate? Let's just stop the speculation.
Yeah.
When you're rinsing your mouth 30 times with hydrogen peroxide.
Say it.
Why? Dominatrix puts on her clothes.
Say it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Great idea at the time. But he was caught up in that rage, that sexual moment.
Yeah.
But then the aftermath is when you look around and go, oh my God, what happened? And that's the part that's like...
No, that's what, like, me and Nick DiPaolo were talking about sex on the road, when you're on the road doing stand-up, and when you meet somebody and have sex with them. The moment that we describe, the juicy moment, that is the best part, is that metallic sound of the hotel room door clicking closed when she leaves. Like the tink, and you're like, yes! Room service, TV, shower.
Mission accomplished.
Yes, get her out. That's the moment you don't like, ooh, then she did this, that. You don't remember that. You don't care about what you did to your genitalia.
The getaway, the escape.
Here's the deal with the OJ book, too. I mean, if he's going to write like this, if I did it type of thing, and he didn't really do it, he would describe the murder in detail, because that would have been the juicy stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. To get to that point, and then all of a sudden I'm covered with blood. You wouldn't do that if you were trying to hook people into reading your book.
Exactly
you would actually come up with everything. So it leads me to believe, once again, that he either blacked out or he was scared of the law.
Maybe. No, I don't think...
I wasn't sure if this could, send him down a road.
I think it's a little of both.
I don't think he's scared of the law.
So then he had to have blacked out.
I think
he knows he
scared,
did it, but he blacked out.
He's scared to absolutely say, I did this.
Right.
He's scared of that because, believe it or not, there's still public that accept him.
Right.
That don't think he did it, that let him into their restaurants and treat him like the star that he was beforehand, and he loves that lifestyle.
I don't know who they are.
Right, the Jews.
That's right.
Those apologetic Jews.
That's right.
But they don't, he doesn't want to come out and say it. Also, I think to get descriptive about exactly what he did, if it doesn't coincide with the actual forensics, it takes away the credibility of the rest of his story, which seems odd. You would think you would want to not have credibility that I killed these people, but...
sorry, go ahead. Because I have a question.
Yeah, it just seems like he would want to keep everything consistent with the trial and everything that happened.
But you're the one that read a lot of this last night. Do you think he blacked out during the murder?
No. I don't think he blacked out.
You just think he's holding back, like...
I think he's one of those people that can get into that rage where, as you're doing it, you don't care. And then the second you're done, you go,
that's how you get
Christ.
It done. That's how you do it.
Like normal people, you punch a wall when you're mad. You don't want to punch a friggin' brick wall. It's going to hurt your hand, dummy. But you do it anyway, and then afterwards you go, why the hell did I do that? Mm-hmm. That's
think he remembers
times
what
a
happened.
billion.
I think he remembers what happened.
I think he remembers.
I think he wants people to know what this felt like so they can sympathize, so they can put themselves in it and go, wow,
Without the barbaric part where you'd hit him again?
He's just not, didn't go into Tasmanian devil spinning and just cutting people apart.
No, he did deftly.
There were like slitting of throats.
He says deftly. He actually brags about how deft he was. And I took off the glove and grabbed the knife. And then I don't know what happened.
And then I don't know what happened.
All I can tell you is I nailed that maneuver.
That karate thing is interesting.
That's really interesting.
That to me is the interesting part of it, is the karate
That pissed him off.
Like, I'll bet you that stupid Goldman thought he could kick OJ's ass.
He's gonna, like,
imagine that in your head. How do you, like, I'm going to make up a whole story that didn't happen. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to create that this guy did karate and it annoyed me.
And it annoys me because how dare you think your karate can beat the OJ?
Yeah. But you could see if that was real. Was he taking karate lessons?
He probably was if OJ put it in the book.
Here's the thing.
Well, if he did,
punch
was
Nicole
that
in
out?
the face? He probably punched Nicole in the face.
Yeah.
And then the guy jumped into a karate stance and he just like, you gotta go. He probably punched her. He probably didn't start stabbing her.
If you think somebody was having sex with your wife and you punch your wife, I don't know, stop me when you stop relating to it.
I'm not married.
I know. And then a guy does a karate stance. It's like, oh, get out.
You're going to go, hey, excuse me.
Yeah,
you know,
you're gone.
You're not going to be banging her this evening.
Yeah.
I'm going to be killing you. That's pretty much what OJ said.
Exactly.
Because when he showed up, apparently there were candles lit inside her condo, and she was wearing this like little red number, I guess, or that white thing, whatever she was wearing. It was red afterwards, but that's for sure.
Did he pay for that condo?
He paid for everything.
And some young pretty boy who's gonna F your hot wife in your place where your kids are. He's certainly not right. But definitely men could react that way.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
It was just, well, you know what it was also? It was months of stories that he had heard about her driving around in the cars that he bought with these guys and stuff. So he was enraged. Regardless, some people can just blow that off and go, whatever.
He's not, that's what makes this definitely a confession, is that if he hadn't done it, it would have been how I did it technically. Just, hey, let's have some fun.
Here's a how-to.
Mm-hmm. But what he's saying is this is
Murder for Dummies by OJ with a yellow cover.
Exactly. This is why, and this is how it felt.
Yeah.
Those are things you can't
That's the feeling.
make up.
How does OJ so know how someone feels standing there after they've butchered two people in pools of blood and know that feeling of maybe that coming back to reality? Exactly. Like you're in this fog of just this bloodlust thing going on, and then you come back from it. How does he know that happens?
And why would you speculate about that?
And why is that the thing you'd write about?
Right.
Why would you speculate about that?
I stabbed her.
Yeah.
If you had been tried falsely of killing someone you loved, and all of a sudden you're acquitted and the whole country thinks you're still... Why would you engage in this?
Exactly.
Why would you take
yourself? Taking realities in your life and meshing those into a reason to kill somebody.
Right. Yeah.
That's the thing that is psychotic.
Yep.
And would be, again, genius writing if it was
genius.
True. Is like, let's take a guy who's innocent of murder and take real things in his life.
Yeah.
And turn them into reasons to kill somebody he didn't kill.
Yeah.
And really, like, make it palatably real that you killed him and how it felt.
Yeah.
And then ease back into the reality of this innocent man trying to come up with things with fake...
I was in Chicago. I cut my finger on a shot glass that I threw when I heard she was murdered by me.
Weird about it being interrogated, even though none of it... oh, God.
Right.
We're going to read this book.
It's so
Why
odd.
would they stop this book? I want to read it.
That's what amazes me. They wouldn't allow this book to be
The entire book's available now.
Not only that,
online.
people got fired because of this book.
Judith Regan?
Yeah, Judith got fired, right?
Well, this is odd because now people are questioning, were there two people at the scene, OJ and this Charlie guy, or was Charlie somebody else? But there wasn't any physical evidence of any other people at that location.
But why not this? Charlie was just standing there.
Yeah.
On the sidewalk.
All right, how about this line? How about this line? As they were walking away, when we last left you, OJ had just murdered two people. He was walking down the sidewalk, escaping the scene with his friend Charlie. Stop. I turned and looked behind me. Here it is. Behind me. Beyond Charlie. And saw a track of bloody telltale prints. Now remember, his shoes had left just a trail of blood. We're talking pools of blood. If you've seen these murder scene pictures, they are gruesome.
The electric
pools
slide
of blood.
Pancreas.
Exactly. Just horrific scenes of carnage. And now he turned to look behind him and looked beyond Charlie, who's walking behind him. And Charlie didn't muss up any of the blood prints that OJ was walking. I mean, come on.
That can be explained. If you're Charlie and you didn't go over there to murder people, and you see your friend like losing his mind, killing these people, butchering them to death, and now you're leaving with OJ, you're going to be careful where you're walking.
You can't. It's dark. There's blood everywhere. OJ's leaving trails of it.
So you're thinking that he should have stepped in one of OJ's prints on the way out?
Absolutely.
No way.
There would be some evidence that guy was at a scene. You cannot be at that scene without something on you.
Didn't he say he just met him at a party or something?
Yeah, it was like a casual
acquaintance. At a party who will die with that secret.
Right.
Who will dump clothes, who held evidence.
Held the clothes. I was saying.
And wouldn't just go right to the police.
Exactly.
I'm afraid of O.J.
That
Simpson.
is,
I barely know the guy.
Charlie, take this and just get rid of it. Okay, I'm going to deposit it at the police department,
and
OJ.
I'm going to watch this happen in the whole country for the next year.
I would just be yesing OJ to death.
Yeah.
And then the second I left, find a cop and go, look, OJ just murdered these two people. Yeah. Here's the evidence you'll need. I had nothing to do with it. I told him about Nicole, and he went wild. I'm a witness to it. I'm willing to testify.
Obviously, Charlie's protecting possibly Al Cowling, so it's like throw everyone off the trail. Like, no, it's a guy that I met at a dinner party, or it's the other person who lives inside my head.
Don't you
But I can see that Charlie could leave the scene without leaving any evidence.
I don't think Charlie would think
way.
Because he was fine. You didn't do anything wrong. You just watched a guy kill his wife. You're walking innocently, like you're in shock that a guy. You're not thinking of evidence protection because you didn't commit a crime.
But Charlie wasn't at the epicenter of the murder scene.
How do you? What about the outskirts?
What if took the knife from Charlie to kill these people?
Yeah, what's Charlie doing?
I just don't know how Charlie...
Hey, man, let's say Ant and I are in this situation, and Ant grabs a knife from me because he wants to go do some horrific thing. I'm backing up. I'm not moving forward closer to
to
the
action.
To
exit the same way.
Well, how about the first blast he takes into someone's chest with the knife? You're not going to... go, oh my God, what the hell happened? Either run away or try to get OJ off the guy. Or Charlie stood there.
Two people.
And watched him butcher two people, slit their throats and everything. And Charlie just stood there.
Might have been too late.
As the dinner party acquaintance.
This is where the fact
that is a starstruck mother effer. Yeah. If he's going to stand there just to be with OJ.
This is where the fact that he's not, and then again, another amazing layer to the fiction.
Right.
That inside this completely true story, he has put a fake man who doesn't exist.
A fake guy, right.
And you can tell because if you ever write, the hard thing is called the keeping balls in the air, keeping a bunch of fires lit.
Right.
The people disappear if you don't keep mentioning them.
Yeah, and that's what happens to Charlie.
So Charlie keeps...
Charlie is the part of OJ that didn't want to kill those people that night.
When you write fiction and when you write movies, you have to make sure people talk to each other so they know each other exists. Just little things that other people don't notice.
Right.
In order to make people real in a story, you have to make sure that everyone interacts with them and that they are mentioned often enough to not be forgotten. He doesn't do that. It's the one thing he doesn't do well in this story. That's completely true.
Well, hopefully on the next murder that he writes about, he'll do well. Charlie is the last bit of sanity OJ had that night that was trying to get himself out of the situation. He kept telling him, leave, OJ, leave, let's go. He had the knife at one point. When Charlie had the knife, it was safe.
How do you deftly take off a glove and take a knife from someone?
And take a knife from
someone who's trying to keep it away from you.
Yeah.
Unless they're holding it. You need an assistant.
Right.
Hold it.
Your knife, Mr. Simpson.
Yes. Well, let's read through this. Let's read through this page because then we're going to move on to other things. We're late for another break, believe it or not.
All right.
He turned by way too fast.
Why the name Charlie? Why not some really interesting name like Kensington?
I look beyond Kensington. There was a track of bloody telltale prints. I've got to get rid of these effing clothes, I said. Without even thinking about it, I kicked off my shoes and began to strip. I took off my pants, shirt, dropped the knife and shoes into the center of the pile and wrapped the whole thing.
Scene.
Right. Yeah. At the murder scene. He dropped the whole thing in the middle of the clothes, wrapped it up into a tight bundle. I left my socks on, though. I don't know why, but I didn't see blood on them. Little details are great that O.J., the fiction writer, comes up with. So I had no reason to remove them. As I stood with the bundle grasped in my left hand, I realized that I left my keys and wallet in the pants. I felt... to a crouch and dug for them and noticed that my hands were shaking. Charlie stood there all the while mumbling.
That's where he cut his hand.
Yeah, could have.
Where?
When
the knife was in amongst his clothes, and he dug in there to get
his keys and wallet, maybe.
Hands, and he cut his finger.
God.
I think it was when he slugged.
That's why he doesn't remember, because he cut it in. He just cut it in there. His hands were shaking.
Could have been.
That's how you cut your finger. That's the only way you cut your finger, and you don't. He actually didn't remember.
And they found dripping blood, drops of blood at his house that came from his wounded finger.
Yes.
So it was a recent wound. It wasn't
Nobody
something.
cuts their finger that is dripping blood without knowing how.
Unless you just killed two people and you're in shock.
So it goes. That's what he should have said to the cops. How am I supposed to know where I cut my? I just killed two people, man.
Two people. Oops.
So if he goes for his wallet and his keys and he cuts his hand,
might have cut his hand there.
Interesting.
Do that during the murder.
Charlie stood there all the while mumbling, "Jesus Christ, OJ, Jesus Christ." He just kept repeating himself like he'd lost his goddamn mind or something.
Ooh.
So Charlie lost his mind at that point. Poor Charlie.
But OJ was fine.
Will you shut the F up? I snapped. I found my keys in my wallet and rewrapped the bundle. Then I stood there and hurried across the dark alley. Then I stood up and hurried across the dark alley. Charlie followed, still mumbling. I got behind the wheel and Charlie climbed into the passenger seat. "Jesus Christ, OJ," he said. "Jesus Christ, will you shut the F up?" Charlie recoiled, startled, and shut up. I started the Bronco and pulled out, the tires squealing, and raced through the curved alley toward Montana Avenue. When I reached the end of the alley, I made a left on Montana, immediate right at the corner onto Gretna Green. San Vincent was a block away. I made a left there. It's the OJ navigation system.
I turned on K-Rock.
Took it all the way to Bristol.
Too much detail.
Then hung a right on Sunset and made a left there toward home. I glanced at Charlie. He was hunched over his elbows. On his knees, his face buried in his hands.
See, again, he doesn't describe Charlie getting in the car.
No.
Charlie gets in the car magically because he doesn't exist.
Charlie got the passenger seat. He just
Charlie was in the passenger seat, yeah.
Where does he say that?
Charlie read it.
Yeah.
Charlie climbed into the passenger seat, saying Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. What happened back there, Charlie?
If you looked into that alley, you would have seen one man going, "Oh, what'd I do, Jesus Christ?"
Oh, shut up! Shut up! He's talking to himself.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what you would have seen.
Mm-hmm. Charlie, he should have called Charlie Kitty Carryall.
George Glass.
Mr. Pivels.
Let's see. Charlie, face buried in his hands. What happened back there, Charlie? I said. Charlie sat up. His cheeks were wet with tears. He shook his head from side to side and shrugged. I thought back to the horrific scene at the courtyard and at all the blood. I've never seen so much blood in my life. It didn't seem possible. It didn't seem real. Charlie? He still didn't answer. But what the hell? This wasn't really happening.
There's no Charlie.
That hadn't been me back there. I'd imagine the whole thing. I was imagining it then. In actual fact, I was home in bed, asleep, having one of those crazy crime of passion dreams. One of those crazy I murdered my wife dreams I always have. But I was going to wake up any second now. Yeah, that was it. Only I didn't wake up. We were still on Sunset. I passed the light on Burlingham. I made a sharp right onto Rockingham. Tearing up the winding hill toward the house. As I approached the gate, I saw a limo moving toward Rockingham, the Rockingham gate from Ashford, and remembered I had a flight to catch. I drove past my house and past the limo, and in the side mirror, I saw the taillights flare up as it pulled to a stop in front of my gate. The driver had probably been waiting on Ashford out of sight, and I wondered if he'd already called the house. I had no idea what time it was. I looked down at the Broncos clock and saw it was 10:37. I'm supposed to be in that limo in 8 minutes.
Jeez.
So remember, and then again, it's like remembering feeling like this couldn't possibly have happened when it didn't actually happen.
The further you get from the scene, too, you would think
he started
that
to
didn't
think
happen.
This is the dovetailing into the reality that he's fakely created.
Yeah, this isn't. And then
what time was his flight? He had a 10:45 pickup for an
11:45 flight.
He only gave himself an hour?
It was before 9/11.
He's OJ. He runs through airports.
Yeah.
The commercials.
And there was a time you could get through security like that.
Yeah.
Gotta remember.
Problem.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm a murderer or something.
Oh. Just remember to jump over that guy tying his shoes.
Exactly. Remember that? Go, OJ, go.
Well, we can read this all day. There's so much more.
Yeah.
Maybe later on in the show we'll get back on it.
He murdered those people.
It's available online.
Yeah.
Great read. It's a great read.
Anthony read all night long.
I highly recommend the fiction writer OJ. Looking forward to his next works.